Good afternoon, and thank you for joining today. I'm Suereta Fortuin. Everyone just calls me Sue. If I haven't met you at the annual meeting, welcome to this meeting, where I will be going through the recently opened pump priming grant call, round 6 of the Validate network. See if my presentation's moving. Oops. Okay. So for those of you joining for the first time, the Validate network aims to accelerate the vaccine research and development of 3 groups of complex neglected intracellular pathogens that cause significant mortality and morbidity throughout the world, and particularly in low middle income countries where these diseases are the most prevalent. These 3 focused pathogens are mycobacteria, causing tuberculosis, leprosy, and a number of others. Leishmania, causing leishmaniasis. Burkholderia pseudomyeli, causing melioidosis. In addition to this, the Validate network aims to facilitate the career progression for its members, particularly early career researchers. And we recognize the delay or inequalities in their career progressions in these low middle income countries, and we want to support researchers identifying as female or non-binary. So as an overview of the pump priming grant, the maximum budget for the pump priming grant is £50,000. It's important to remember that the budget must align with your research proposal. It can include your salary for 12 months, research costs, as well as, which includes consumables, travel, and animal work, and or any cost related to your research proposal or project. All applications will be reviewed by the Network Management Board. Some of the key points that they will focus on when reviewing applications will be to check if it falls within the Validate remit. They will look at if you are working on one or more of the focused pathogens I've described earlier, and they will also look for scientific excellence. So please put in your best proposal. And your proposed research must contribute to the knowledge that will accelerate vaccine development. The project duration is 12 months. So for some of you, this might seem like a short time, but the projects should be able to generate relevant data in the field. It can be used to promote pilot data, produce and generate pilot data for a larger study or a larger funding application. One of the important facts to remember is that these proposals should be distinct from previously funded Validate projects. A list of these projects can be found on the Validate website, so please make your way there after the meeting. I do want to emphasize that it's important to familiarize yourself with the guidelines document listed under the funding call for the pump priming call. If you want to know if you are eligible for this application or this grant call, please note that you must be a Validate network member. This call is only open to members. If you are not a member, please make your way to the website and apply for free membership. It's open to anyone across the world. Projects must be led by Validate associate members. Projects must be directly related to the focused pathogens that I've mentioned earlier. In this round, you must have at least one collaborator at a different institute other than your own, and they must also be a Validate member. They can be at any of the different member tiers in the network. If you're not familiar with the different tiers of membership, they are affiliates, associates, and investigators, and this is outlined on the website. Each of these tiers opens up to a separate set of benefits, and this information is also available on the website, but you are welcome to contact us for more information on this. Members can be based at academic institutes, governmental organizations, non-governmental organizations, and they are all eligible for funding to either lead or collaborate on this project proposal. Unfortunately, members from countries based in Belarus, China, Iran, People's Republic of Korea are not eligible to apply, as we have validate have to comply with funders regulations, rules and regulations. I briefly want to touch on the application form, which you will find on the website under the pump priming funding call application. It's important to remember that lead applicants must be associate level members. Due to the funders regulations, as I've mentioned, we are obliged to follow the rules. So please refer to the UK and USA sanctions list linked in the guidance document. I want to emphasize that you please read the guidelines document to make sure that you are eligible for this funding call. We do not want you to go through the whole application form to find out that you're not eligible for this specific call. We also advise you to seek help from a more experienced senior scientist in your institute to review and help you improve your application before you submit. As I've mentioned, you are allowed one or more collaborator. They have to complete a separate section on the application form. They can be a Validate member, and I said at any level. They could be an affiliate or an investigator or a same level as yourself as an associate. Remember to clearly state your role as well as each of your collaborators' role and the expertise they bring to the specific project. Also check your collaborators against the sanctions list. On to the budget. The lead applicant and each collaborator each have their own section to complete on the application form when it comes to the budget. The total budget, maximum budget is £50,000. If successful, the project will be funded at 100%, except for UK research organizations, which will only be reimbursed at 80% based on the UKRI rules. Indirect costs will be allowed, but for this, please refer to the guidelines for more information. Yes, as I've mentioned, your collaborator have to fill in a separate section on the application form, and the same rules apply as for the lead applicant. Eligible costs will have to fall within the scope of the Validate network and its remit. Please provide justifications for each budget item, how you calculated your budget costs, and where these costs relate to your project. Please make sure that your budget is aligned with your research project. And each institute's cost must be separate on the application form. Obviously, there are non-costs that will not be eligible according to this the score. So research outside of the Validate's objectives and remit will not be funded. Applications led by Validate investigators or affiliates. Applications from researchers who are not Validate members. Equipment purchases will not be funded. And also, because our headquarters is based at Oxford and Stellenbosch University, we are subject to heed the institution as well as the funders' terms and conditions relevant to the national legislation, export controls, sanctions regulations, national security and investments, as well as the academic technology approval scheme. As all of you know, ethics is an important topic in health sciences, and so for the use of human samples, please seek the advice of your institute where your research will be conducted, as well as your collaborators to make sure that, all rules are abided by. Validate expects that all research involving human participants be undertaken in accordance with the UK and South African level of ethical behavior. Ensure that you have ethics approval before funding can be initiated. Different institutions have different timelines, and so please make sure that if you do not have ethics approval yet, make sure that you understand the timelines to ethics approval and the whole process of your own institute and your collaborators, if needed. All legal requirements for the import and export of biological materials must be adhered to. Yeah, and please refer to the list of resources with regards to ethics compliance in the pump priming guidance document. It's a very extensive document put together by our team, and so all the information that you might need could be found in this document. I briefly want to go over the application process. You will understand that this is quite a couple of months of process involved here. So today we are doing the call open on Monday, this past Monday on the 23rd. Today we're doing our question and answer session. We also have additional grant writing support available to applications coming from low middle income countries. And the deadline for you to tell us if you need the support will be on the 7th of October. The call closes for this pump priming grant closes on the 16th of December. Thereafter, your eligible applications that have been screened will go to the NMB for review, and we will probably communicate an outcome to you by successful outcome or not by mid-February 2025. We envisage that we will start the pump priming, initiate the pump priming funding by the beginning of April. I've pulled together a few tips and advice for you to get started immediately after this meeting with your applications. First of all, go to the website and download the guidelines document. Please make sure that you are eligible for this specific call. There's a nice document, and Blakely can share this perhaps in the chat, where the NIH highlights top 10 reasons, their top 10 reasons why proposals are not funded. It's very interesting. Please note that you have to start early. Most people need 3 to 6 months to put together a very successful application. So make use of the resources, make use of the people around you to get your application to the end. Think about your budget. Think about your proposal. Make sure that your budget aligns with your proposal, because those are the key points that will be reviewed. Get to know your institution's research and finance office or grants office. There might be internal deadlines that you are not aware of. So in order for you to get your application to us by the 16th of December, please make sure that you get all those documents signed off and approved by your own institutions. Use the templates supplied by us on the Validate website under the pump priming call. And yes, I've mentioned that the additional grant writing support for low middle income countries, please let us know by the 7th of October. There's also a FAQ document available online. Please refer to that document before contacting us. We might have addressed your question in there, but if not, you're welcome to contact the Validate team for further information. I just want to introduce Prof. Helena, who will be providing this grant writing mentorship for applicants from low middle income countries. But before that, Sam and I will be doing an eligibility screening for those that request this support. And so initially, we will first go with you through the application to make sure that you understand the application form. We will help you with your CV, make sure that you are aware of your relevant list of publications, and make sure that you have letters of support from all the relevant organizations and institutions that's needed for this. Thereafter, we will then hand over applications to Prof. Helena for one-on-one sessions where she will go in detail with you to discuss your project details and set your goals so that you get to the end point before the 16th or successful before the 16th. Please note this is free, so make use of the resources, make use of the people that are offering these services to you. The network will cover all the associated costs. And yeah, we expect very successful and scientific, excellent applications to come through. And with that, I want to end off by sharing some important contact information with you. If you have not, please remember to sign up if you're not a member yet to the Validate Network. Contact us on the Validate email address and find us on our website. With that, thank you. Any questions? I can see some questions in the chat.
Yep, if anyone wants to ask a question, you can just turn on your mic and speak. Just to remind people, we're recording this and we're going on to YouTube. Do let us know if you don't want to appear on the final video. I can very easily cut you out. So, yeah.
And just to say, this is Sam, just to help Sue with managing the thing, if you could put your hand up and she'll then ask your question. And Sue, just to let you know, I've been answering the questions in the chat, so don't worry about those.
Thank you, Sam.
Tish raised her hand.
Hi, thank you, Sue, for this information. I had two questions. One was if you have, for example, two involved validate members, is there a certain percentage that needs to be adhered on how the budget is split, like 50-50, or are there limitations on the budget that one is 20, the other is 80% of the budget?
No, I don't think there is any limits on that. As long as it is properly justified in your justifications, then I think it doesn't matter how it is split.
Okay,
but Sam can add any if there's any.
No, that's correct. It doesn't matter how the budget is split across the different collaborators, but obviously it needs to be appropriate to the type and amount of work that is being performed, which, as Sue said, you should be justifying. You do need to specify for both the lead and the collaborators exactly what they're doing on the project and how much time they'll be on, which obviously then will be reflected in your budget split.
Yeah, okay, thank you. Then my second question was what the definition is of equipment, because you mentioned equipment could not be reimbursed.
According to the rules, under £2,000, it could go as consumables. Above, Sam, 5,000?
So this is listed in the guidance document. So please do, as Sue said, read our guidance document. And as well, we have an FAQs document online on the pump priming webpage where you can all, you'll see lots of answers to your questions in the guidance document, first place to check. And secondly, the FAQs, as we get asked questions by members, we tend to add to these so that they're kind of a live update of questions we've been asked. So do check those first. So with regards to equipment, the eligible costs that are allowed in your application are really clearly explained in the guidance document, and they specify exactly, what in terms of salary, in terms of overheads, in terms of travel, and in terms of consumables stroke equipment that you can include. So do take a look at that. UKRI rules are that under £10,000 counts as consumables, over £10,000 is equipment and not allowed on this grant.
Okay, noted. Thank you.
No problem.
Liesel?
Good afternoon. Thanks for a very informative presentation. I have a question regarding scholarships for master's, PhD, or postdoctoral support. So if I were to be eligible and if I was successful in this, would I be able to contribute towards a scholarship for the year?
Can I take this one, Sue? I'm afraid no, we don't cover any costs for students.
Okay, thanks, Sam. And
no
thanks
problem.
For the FAQs, I'll definitely refine going through that document and the guidelines as well. Thank you.
I think Abram? Abram, if you have a question. Tahina, do you have a question?
Yes. I have two questions. One is about the mycobacterial diseases. So does that also include non-tuberculous mycobacteria?
Yes, I think it falls within the Mycobacterium group of pathogens. So I think yes, that's valid.
Okay. Yeah, I think for now that is one question. Yeah, that's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Martha?
Hi, thank you for the presentation. Is there like a specified like rule or restriction on the scope of the collaborating institution or person? For example, is advisory role sufficient, or do we need to somehow have some lab work in that collaborating institution? Is there like a scope to it or a restriction?
Yes, because you have to specify their role. It cannot only be advisory, if I'm correct, Sam.
Yeah, it can't just be advisory. They need to actually contribute to the research project in some form of the actual research. So you will see on the form, you need to have a senior person within your own institute who would act as your mentor and advisor for the project. But you will need, in addition to that, a collaborator who contributes to the research of the project from another institute to your own. Does that answer your question?
But contribute in a sense like a scientific input to the design of the study, is that sufficient?
No, they need to actually perform some of the research.
I see. Okay, thank you.
No problem.
Can I follow up on that? Sorry. So
Yeah.
the senior person, the partner that I have in another collaborating institution, is it the person themselves who have to, like, do they have to be a senior? They can be at any level you mentioned, right?
Level.
You know
Yeah.
what? I think
But
I
must
answered
be
my
a-
question. That's fine. Thank you.
Must be a validate member.
Yeah, thank you.
See. Sheisha?
Hi, this is Shusya from NIAD. I have some follow-up questions about potential collaborators. So if I have a potential collaborator who's not yet a member of Validate, if they submit an application for membership before the December deadline for this grant application, is that okay?
Yes. Yes. They must be an approved member of the Validate Network before you submit your application.
Okay, so they're not yet at this point, but they submit an application and they're approved before that
Yes.
deadline. That's all right?
That's
Okay,
correct.
thank you.
I think, Abram, if you still have a question.
Abraham, you might be on mute. Alternatively, if your microphone's not working, if you want to put your question in the chat, then that might work.
Any other questions?
Martha, did you have a question? Because you have your hand up.
I already asked and answered.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Perfect, no problem. And I can see, hold on one second, Liesel, but Ritika has said she has a question in the chat. Did you want to put it in the chat or did you want to ask it out loud?
Yeah, I'll ask it out. Yeah. Thank
Great.
you for the presentation. So my queries were related to the budget and the release of the grants. So it said that, you know, it covers the salary. So for example, if the person who is the associate is the lead for this project, and I am collaborating with someone from another institute, so now if my budget includes a salary for myself who is leading the project, so what's the process of, you know, release of the grants? I had gone through the guidelines and it said that it will be released 2 times post like 6 months and 12 months. But is that so with also the salary component, that it will be released 6 months after, you know, starting of this project?
So funding, you have to submit a report. Initial funding will be released when it's initiated, right?
No. So sorry, just to get So sorry, I'll just answer if that's okay. So it depends on where your institute is based. So for anyone who counts as high income, you submit your 6-month and 12-month report and you are reimbursed in arrears for the costs you have actually incurred, and that includes any salary costs. So your institute would need to pay it up front, and then you'd be reimbursed for actual costs incurred at 6 months and then at 12 months via invoice. If you are based at an LMIC institute, we understand that this process may not be possible. So if that is not possible at your institute due to cash flow, then at the contract stage, we would negotiate exactly how Validate would reimburse your grant, and that may include, but I can't promise that, an upfront payment of some sort to help you with costs upfront.
Okay, so so this is basically dependent on the institute where I'll be collaborating and I'll be working. Say, for
Yeah.
example, I am based from one lab, say in India, but I'm collaborating with someone and I'm going to do the work in an institute which is based in, say, US. So it will be dependent on that institute where I'll be working on.
So your institute where you count as, and this is all outlined in the guidance for anyone for whom I'm speaking too fast or it's not quite clear. So your institute, in terms of LMIC or high income, is where you are based for work. So if you are being based in a US institute, then you're going to be a high income country. If you are based at an Indian institute but working in the US, you would still count as high income because India counts as high income for Validate calls because the UK government funding, the Indian government have said they don't want to be cast as LMIC. So this is explained in our guidance document. So if you're Indian based, wherever you're going to be working, you will count as high income. If you are, for example, based in a lower middle income country such as South Africa and perhaps doing some work with collaborators in America, because you are based for work at a South African institute and that's who pays your funding, your part of the grant could be potentially reimbursed with an upfront payment. As I say, I cannot guarantee it. It all depends on the risk profile at the point of where we're drawing up contracts, but we would basically negotiate something that would work for both sides as far as we can at the contract stage if the grant was successful.
Okay, thanks
Does
a
that
lot.
help? No problem.
Okay, thanks a lot.
Nina?
Hi,
Yeah.
thank you. I have a slightly hypothetical question. So I am from LMIC. Right now, I'm based in Spain, but I know that in 6 months, I'll be back in my country, which is low to middle income country. And what if can I still apply for the grant if I already can establish that I will be collaborate between the institute from my country and the present institute, which is from the developed, high income country?
Sam.
Yeah,
You want
I
me to
know.
take this one? Yeah. Yeah, okay. So yeah, these become quite tricky questions to answer. So it will all depend when you move institutes. So if you move institutes to the lower middle income country before the grant starts, then you would be counted as LMIC. If you were still in Spain, you would count as high income. In terms of collaborations, yes, you can absolutely have your current institute in Spain and your future institute in the LMIC as your two funders and you two collaborators, and you would kind of switch between them during the grant probably.
Thank you.
I also assume the letters of support would state that you will be based, right?
Sorry?
Sam?
Yeah,
then you should make it, so you should clearly outline what's going to happen in your grant application, just because obviously the Network Management Board at review would want to understand what was happening if your current institute says Spain and your future one is, I don't know, somewhere else.
Okay.
So you would want to clearly explain that. And as Sue says, you would probably want to ensure that your letters of support from the different institutes make it very clear, for example, that the institute you're moving to would be happy to support your application and host you as a member of staff in their laboratory.
Thank you.
Liesel? You have another question?
Yes, thank you. I just wanted to find out how many awards are awarded for the pump priming grants? During the-
So, so we aim to award 9. There are 9 awards available, but depending on the submissions, we'll have to review first. But it's also split between low middle income countries and high income countries.
Thank you.
Are there more questions?
We did have a.
Yeah,
Gustavo-
sorry, Blakely, did you want me to address your point?
Oh yeah, go on. But there was also a related question, Sam, which is how long does it take to be approved as a member? Just related to us.
Okay, I should probably put my video on. Sorry, I haven't been very very visible. Okay, so sorry, Sue, you could probably have
That's
answered this perfectly fine yourself. So in terms of how long it takes to apply to be a member, it depends on the different membership levels. Affiliate, we can approve almost immediately. Associate probably takes a month or so. Investigator level goes to the Network Management Board. They meet every other month, so it would depend on when the next meeting is as to how long that would take. Their next meeting is in November, so try and get investigator applications in before the end of October to be able to get into that meeting. In terms of Blakely saying we have a few affiliates, is it worth mentioning the upgrade process and who's eligible to be an associate? Again, that is in the FAQs, I believe. But essentially, if you have passed your PhD and your Viva and been awarded your PhD, you are able to be upgraded to an associate member. And you basically just submit the application again, saying your current membership level is affiliate and your membership level you're applying for is associate, and you will be put into the upgrade process, which takes the same amount of time as a normal associate application, so about a month. And then when do postdoc fellowships get opened? So we hope to open another fellowship call in early 2025 or late this year, but it won't open until the pump priming call has closed. So we know that you don't want to be writing both at once. So we would encourage you not to wait for the fellowship call, because the pump priming is a really good opportunity for you. And because of how the grant calls fall, if you've got a pump priming grant, that would not mean you could not apply for a fellowship. So if you've got a pump priming grant and was successful, you could still apply for a fellowship as long as you explain how the work is different, had a different project, and as long as you explained how you would be able to perform both pieces of work, which has the 2 actual running periods of the pump priming grant and the fellowship grant shouldn't overlap very much. You should be able to explain that. Okay, and then what is the maximum number of applications that would be funded has been answered. So we have funding for 9 projects, but obviously we only fund excellent projects, so we may or may not award all of those. So put in good applications, please, so we can fund you. Does sex of the associate matter? No. Is it possible to upgrade membership from affiliate to associate? Yes, I've already just covered that. You can do that just by applying, as long as you've passed your PhD, and further information on that is in the FAQ document, which you can find on the pump priming grant call page. Sue, did I miss anything?
It's just one last question about 1 year no cost extension.
A 1 year no cost extension.
The funding is only for 12 months.
Since many complicated logistics in LMIC countries, can we ask for a 1 year no cost extension? Okay, so I would be very concerned if you're, for a 12-month project, you already, right before you've even applied, are planning for a 1 year no cost extension. That would be viewed very dimly. You should absolutely only put in a project that you are confident you can complete within the 12-month period of the project. However, yes, we do understand that obviously logistics can be complicated. So you should try, as soon as you're awarded, start preempting that. You should certainly preempt that in terms of discussions with your collaborators ahead of your application to make sure that you're all in agreement who's doing what the budgets are, etc. Not just for the application, but because you will need to do a subcontract as soon as you are awarded. And that can hold things up, and we don't want it to. So ensure as soon as you're awarded, essentially, you should be starting to get your subcontracts with your collaborators drafted and circulated for discussion to try and streamline things. In terms of reagents, etc., we do understand that that can be more complicated. So you can potentially, near the end of the project, request a no-cost extension, but we absolutely would not grant a 1 year no-cost extension. That just would not be feasible at all. We would have serious concerns about your inability to do the research if you have not managed to get anywhere in the first 12 months. So really make sure that you put in, an application that you are confident you can get done in 12 months, despite challenges in your country. Do not assume you will or kind of count on a no-cost extension, because that's really bad form. And the NMB will be able to tell that from your application that it's not feasible for the 12 months. So do apply for something you think you can get done. And obviously we understand as things happen, things go wrong. If you do need to have a short no-cost extension near the end of the project, you can apply for that, and that will be judged by the management team and based on your justification for that and whether they think that's okay or not, basically. So we can never guarantee a no-cost extension. And then we've got another question, is one able to buy equipment with the grant? Again, this is in the document guidance. If it's over £10,000, no. If it's under £10,000, it counts as consumables, so yes. That's all explained in the document for you.
I have
Did
one
you have a
more
further question? Yeah, go for it.
So this £50,000, does that also includes indirect, or
Yeah.
is it just direct cost?
So again, outlined in the guidance, there's really clear guidance that we've written for you all about what you can include, how you need to include the different costs. Tahina, because you're based in a high-income country, you will not be allowed to include overheads or indirects. LMICs are allowed to include some overheads that are considered reasonable. And again, this is all explained in more detail for you in the guidance documents, so do check that out.
Okay, thank you.
No problem.
Yeah, the guidance document is a good starting point to make sure that you
at
least understand what the school is for.
But obviously, if you don't understand anything, do just email Sue and me at the Validate email address and we will respond. But please do check the guidance and the FAQs first, because I'm sure you can understand we have over 750 members. So Sue and I, there's only 2 of us. We can't keep responding to queries that are addressed in the guidance. So you will literally get an email that says, this is in the guidance, please read it. So you may as well read it first to save yourself time. Anyone got any further questions?
Don't see any in the chat. Is that it?
Lizel is putting thumbs up. Oh no,
Oh.
yeah, Lizel I think has a question there.
These are
It was a like and a question. You mentioned about ethics. So in my work that I do animal research. And the process usually takes quite a while to get your ethics approved. Or when I submit my application, I would have obviously had the conversation, started the process, but the ethics will not have been approved, especially around December in South Africa. Would this be a concern?
I guess by the time we make the announcement about the award, if you are successful, we would expect you to have had started the process and that you have some feedback on when the process will be completed. So, yeah.
I think as well, if you just clearly state in the section of the form on ethics that, you're exactly what you just said, you're in conversation with people, the application is submitted, the Network Management Board will understand that these processes take time.
Martha?
I'm just going to come back to my previous question because I have this chance I don't want to miss. So in terms of collaborator, I always imagine that person to be more senior than me with more expertise. And the collaborator I have in mind would contribute significantly to the work I have planned or I plan to submit. But obviously that person isn't going to work in the lab, so she might designate a lab technician or postdoc within her group to do the actual lab work. So am I better off including the postdoc as my collaborator or the senior PI, assuming they're both validate members?
So should I take that, Sue? So you can include both, I would probably, because it's obviously helpful for the other postdoc to have a grant on their CV. So it would be helpful for them to be part of the collaboration, get them involved in the grant writing, etc., to give them experience and to get it on their CV as well. Yeah, that's absolutely fine.
Yeah, and in terms of the application form, you put the institute's collaboration information, summarize all that into.
Yeah,
right?
so you would put each person on the form as a different collaborator. So you would specify the 2 different people, the PI and the postdoc, and then obviously on the form it says to state their role. So you would need to obviously just say what they're doing as part of the project. We want to basically
Thank you
see
so
collaborators that are genuine collaborations. They're not
Yes,
just
yeah.
pretend partnerships. So that's why we ask for what the roles are and how many hours people are going to do on the project. So we can kind of, the NMB can then see whether it's a genuine collaboration or not. So as long as it's a genuine collaboration, you can include as many people as you like.
All right. Thank you so much.
I do not see any further questions. Yeah. If you have any further questions, please contact us, but please go through the guidelines, the FAQs online. Yeah, and you're welcome to contact us if you need any more information.
So thank you very much, Sue. I think that was very nicely done. And thank you everyone for joining. As Sue said, we hope this has been very useful for you. If you have any further questions, just contact the Validate team.
Thank you.
Great. At that point, we'll finish the meeting. Thank you, Blakely.